Okay, here we are. Here we are. It is July 8th at 8:30. Again, it is July 8th at 8:30. So, today I think I want to talk about emotional energy. I feel like we all know energy cannot really be destroyed, if that's how it goes. Sorry, I'm not a scientist, but like to me, I feel like emotional energy is powerful. Emotional energy has the effects on us that I would say drugs could be, because drugs themselves put us in a mind state that is out of our normal thinking and our normal process. So I feel like emotional energy is sort of on the same plane. A few weeks ago, my mental health took a downward spiral after consistent, I will call them jabs, at my emotional being and my emotional state. Um, this had me thinking quite drastically and irrationally. Do with that as you will. So, after finding some support and getting the help that I needed at the time, I was able to talk myself down off that metaphorical and honestly physical ledge. Um, being in this emotional state created something energy wise in me. It created a negative pit, it created a void that had me feeling like I was stuck. Well, I still feel stuck, but not as stuck as I did. Need some water. But as the days passed on and my emotional state kind of plateaued, I realized that the days that I've had after those negative thoughts, they were pretty good. Um, I was happier. I noticed that there were times when I would say, "Wow, I'm glad I didn't make a rash decision that night." Um, the emotional energy cannot be destroyed. It can be molded. It can be repurposed in a way, because nothing truly is over, even when it's over, in the physical sense. Um, as my days progressed, I noticed small things happening in my days that made me feel like actually needed in the world. I mean, let's be real now. I don't work a meaningful job. I am not a pillar in my community. I feel like I'm just another screw in the big machine we call life. But overall, I feel like my small impacts make somewhat of a difference in not the community, but in individuals which who are in the community. I hope this ramble makes sense. I really hope it does, because I feel like sometimes I'm just word vomiting and it's not coming across as actual thought. But to me, this is just an unknown territory in which I'm not familiar with talking with. Um, but back to energy and how it can't really be destroyed. Energy can't be destroyed. Um, we are energy. I firmly believe that no matter what happens in life, there will be a action, or I'm sorry, there will be a reaction to that. Um, I personally feel like what keeps me here on Earth, beyond my negative thoughts, is the fact that even if on my worst day I got super sad and did the unimaginable, that the pain wouldn't be over. It would just be passed on. And that is what I mean by energy cannot be destroyed. Because even though I feel something and I chose to do something drastic and not the best idea, that energy has now been taken, all the pain, all the frustration, just compiled and put into a zip file and just immediately sent to the people who truly do care about me. Um, Yesterday, when I was driving at my wonderful job as a delivery driver, I noticed this guy. I was driving through an alleyway. This guy was sitting against a trash can and he was smoking a cigarette. And I I can't lie. I knew I knew that look. The look of I'm holding it together. I'm doing my best. But if someone were to blow on me the wrong way, I'm going to fold. So as I passed the guy, he was sitting on the ground. I passed him. I decided to reverse. And as I reversed, I looked at him and I said, "Hey, man to man, are you okay?" And he looks at me and goes, "No, my buddy of mine killed himself last night, and I don't know how to process this beyond sitting here and smoking cigarettes. My kids are inside, and I feel like if I look at them, I'll think of what their mental health is going to be in the future. Will they kill themselves in the future? Will I have the emotional know-how to help them with these problems and with these negative headspaces?" And as he's talking to me, mind you, this is a man who I don't know. I don't know this man from a can of paint. I don't remember his name. But I remember him saying, "I just don't know how to show my feelings in front of my family because I feel like I don't have that space." And it just made me think to myself, like, wow, it's not just me. I'm not the only one with these negative thoughts. And having the people in my life either know 100% of what's going on or nothing at all. Um, so I looked at the guy and I told him it's hard being the strong one all the time because no one asks you how you feel. But when you're strong, you have to be strong enough to realize that you are safe enough to tell those people around you how you feel, even if it's not going so good. I feel like it's a double-edged sword when you have young kids. I'm not a dad. I don't know how it is, but you don't really want to feel like your kids can look at you and go, "That's not Superman." But I hope that guy has a sit down with his wife at least because his kids were very young, like no more than 3 or 4. So I would say maybe don't put that emotional thought process on those kids so early. Let them be children, but be open with those around you, like I said, your wife, your family, your close family members, not just your cousins, or if you're close to your cousins, talk to them, talk to anyone who you feel safe with. Don't put a label on anything. But that whole situation had me thinking to myself, wow, I was going to do some very drastic stuff a few days ago. Like, if I was to do that, me and this man wouldn't be talking. We wouldn't have this conversation. And I feel like even though that situation had me in such a negative headspace that felt so alone and so isolating, I I don't know, I just made the right decision. I'm not gonna call it scared. I'm not gonna call it divine intervention. I'm gonna just say I made the right decision. Because if I wouldn't have made the right decision, I would be just taking my pain and condensing it and just giving it to the next person. Um, I hope I see that guy again. I really hope I do. Because sometimes when we go through these hard situations in life, and even when we get the kind word or the person that shows that they care, the worst still happens. The worst can still happen. I hope that anyone who's struggling mental wise, if we're friendly, if we don't know each other, and even if we're enemies, that they get the help that they need. I really hope that I get the help that I need. And going forward, even if things are hard, even if things feel impossible, taking the time to identify those problems and see that it's it's bad right now, but it's not always going to be bad. So keep thugging. Don't give up. Check on your friends. We all know that look of "I need help." So it's a two-way street. Be brave enough to tell your feelings, but also be brave enough to ask that person who you consider a friend, even a random person, those those 3 words. Are you okay? Those go a long way. Well, It's end of this video. Catch you later.